Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Innovation Café of GS1 Belgium and Luxembourg. We are now covering a session called Towards a Circular Economy for Plastic Packaging. I am Karen. I am Innovation Manager at GS1 Belgilux, and I would like to have this kicked off by our CEO, Gian Somers. Welcome, Jan.
Welcome, Karen. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. We are really excited to have you here at this Innovation Café, the third Innovation Café. Of course, completely digital. Normally we drink a beer or drink a glass of wine, but this, of course, not possible for the moment. We have around 150 people from all of Europe that are connected. For those who are new, the concept is quite simple. It's for everyone to come together to discuss the whole potentials and the pitfalls of today's technologies and innovations. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a really informal session. The most important thing is not to have everything okay after this session and to learn everything after this session. The real important thing is just to learn, to assess, and to benchmark. Today we'll talk about circular economy model for plastics. You know that this is critical for the European Commission and for all of us, and it has also an increasing place inside GS1. We have a packed agenda with some great speakers, the European Commission, Procter & Gamble, GS1 Europe, and we have an excellent host, Karen, so please take it over.
Thank you, Jan. So first, for practical guidance, I'd like to explain the platform a bit. So as you can see on the sidebar, you have dedicated tabs for the chat, the questions, and the polls. And we welcome interactivity. Although everyone is muted, you're still very welcome to ask your questions and to chat whenever you want. After each guest speaker, we have a dedicated Q&A session. So then we will cover the questions you've asked. And please also note that you can like each other's questions. So that way we can make sure that the most popular questions are being asked. You can also mute your notifications because otherwise it might drive you crazy just by clicking on that icon. And also, if you would like to see the screen in full screen, then you can just go to the upper right corner of your browser, click on the three dots, and then click on the icon to make your screen full. So, okay, let's talk about innovation at GS1 Belgilux. So we launched the innovation platform about a year ago, and we identified the key business drivers and their technology enablers. And we also had an innovation cafe about artificial intelligence, about blockchain, and now it's time for sustainability, because we've seen that now it's a big trend and it covers environmental and social issues, such as reducing waste, finding new ways to recycle, making sure that a product is fair trade, etc. So we see that sustainability has become one of the major business drivers nowadays. And GS1 has always been about reducing costs and increasing efficiency, etc. But now we are realizing that nowadays sustainability, it's not an or story. It's starting to become more an end-to-end story. So in order to increase efficiency, reduce costs, you need to be sustainable. So that is why we are also including this in our pluriannual plan, and we made sure that we are now making sure that we can create value for our members and that we can help them by implementing a solution that is sustainable. Because right now it's a consumer priority, and brand owners and retailers and others, they have to embrace this. We already covered this during our GS1 Belgilux forum in October, and we had record numbers. We had a lot of attendees. We had record views on LinkedIn and YouTube. We had our amazing speakers, Francesca, Poggiali, and Desgrées, talk about this already a little bit into, well, briefly. And today we will now discuss this more into detail. So we've recycled some of the content and we are adding more value to it right now, which happens more and more. And we are very happy to hear about this, and also, to hear about your thoughts. So we are also going to ask you some questions during this session. I won't be doing that. I have a lovely assistant Saida who will be doing that. You will hear her voice, and she will ask you the questions and the polls. And we will start with the first one. So Saida, go ahead.
So hello, everyone. The first question is, do you think at this rate, how many planet Earths would we need by the year 2050 to replenish our consumption and production resources? Is it 1.5 planet Earth, 2 planet Earths, 3, or 4? Let us know what you think. The results are coming in. I'm giving you a few more seconds to give us your answers. Okay, I think we have all the answers. So the most popular answer is 3 planet Earths at this moment. We'll hear more about that later, I think.
Okay, the next question.
So next question. How much of the world's plastic packaging do you think is actually collected for recycling? So this is about worldwide, not only in Europe. So you can submit your votes. People are not very optimistic, I can see. All right. I'll give it a few more seconds. I think most people have voted.
You can already give the answer.
Yeah, all right. So the winning answer, well, the most chosen answer is around 15%.
Okay. The next question,
All right.
last one. Now we
Last
can go to our guest speaker.
All right. So this there's no wrong or right answer. Well, it's not a pop quiz. Let us know how important in your company. So what kind of priority does the topic of sustainability have within your company? So we'd be happy to know how it is in your company. Let us know. That looks quite optimistic. Happy to see this. Most people are saying that it's got quite a high priority in their company, 55% at this point. So
Okay.
very good.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Saida. So as far as the two first quiz questions goes, I did not expect this, but the answers that you gave were actually the right ones, which already sets the tone for today. It shows that there's a lot of things that can still be done, but there's a lot of things happening. And we have a perfect guest speaker for this today. She will kick off. It's Maja Desgrées. She works at the European Commission. She's policy officer for packaging and packaging waste, and she can explain to you what the European Commission is doing. We are honored to have you here, Maja. The floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Karen, and thank you very much for this kind invitation. It was a bit short term, but happy to accept. Indeed, there is a lot happening also here in the European Commission, following the adoption of the Green Deal and the Circular Economy Action Plan in March. We have set such an ambitious agenda of work for the coming 5 years that we have been extremely busy. People are calling me now. I thank you very much for this interesting pitch and for all the for the questionnaire. I think it's a good start to warm up for this event. I am myself a policy officer for the Packaging and Packaging Waste Directive. In my presentation today, I will be talking a little bit about the Circular Economy Action Plan and about circularity of packaging. And in the end, I hope to be able to present also the more concrete ideas that we have on the revision of the Packaging Directive, which is ongoing, and also how this fits with the initiative of the product passport, for which, by the way, I am not in charge, but it is also related to the packaging waste and the packaging waste directive revision. So to change this, the European Green Deal, as you know, it's now almost 1 year since the European Commission has adopted it. It's a plan that puts really sustainability, the circular economy, the protection of the environment, and of course climate neutrality at the heart of our growth policies. And in fact, it has been like this already since a while. So we have the EU environmental policy coming closer and closer to the economic policies, which is on the grounds that it is better to avoid the pollution, to incentivize the people and efficient use of resources, better than punishing the polluters once the damage is done. So this circular approach has emerged from this approach, and now it is embraced by also the business sector and by the private sector in general, also the NGOs and the civil society, because it is a win-win story. Really, as you can see from this slide, the circular economy is one of it's really at the heart of basically the European Green Deal. It is one of the key factors that will contribute achieving also other objectives such as climate goals and biodiversity, more sustainable food production, and so on. So to go to the next slide, the Circular Economy Action Plan consists of 35 actions. You can have a good idea about what these actions are if you just look at the annex, two-page annex of the Circular Economy Action Plan, but also otherwise it's not a very long document, which basically, you can get a good idea about what it actually is if you look at this slide and its structure. The main part of it is the product policy. So there is the focus, and we want to now really define the basic principles of what is sustainable product and what is sustainable product production. And here we also really want to have all these important initiatives on empowering consumers and public bodies, public authorities, to become an active part of the circular economy. So here I'm thinking of initiatives such as the Green Claims Initiative, the Consumer Protection Agenda, and of course also the Product Passport, which will make all this easier. Now, as regards the Sustainable Products Policy Initiative, which is where this is going to be happening, probably some of you know already, the open public consultation has been launched, and will be launched in the first quarter of 2021, and we expect that this will then deliver by the end of 2021 in the form of the adoption of the legislative text by the Commission, and then the negotiations in the legislative bodies, in the Council and the European Parliament will start in 2022. So as regards the second most important part of the Circular Economy Action Plan, it is the focusing on the so-called key product value chains. Now, these value chains have been selected based on, they are potential for circularity. These are some of the most energy-intensive value chains, but they also are the ones where we can make real improvements in terms of circularity. So they have been selected on this basis, and you can see packaging is one of the 7 key product value chains. Then the third really important focus is on waste. Now, many of you probably know we have revised our waste legislation quite substantially in 2018 when we have raised the quotas for recycling, also for plastic packaging, which doubled. So now it's, for example, it's 22.5 recycling rate, but in 2025 it's 50, and then in 2030 55%. So it is still perhaps not ambitious enough, but on the top of raising the recycling targets, at that time we have also changed and made more stringent our calculation rules, how these recycling targets are being calculated. So all this is going to of course impact how we are dealing with our waste and packaging waste in particular. But now the circular economy action plan, the new one, wants to go further. I mean, it has been reproached to the Commission several times that we are just focusing on recycling and not doing other things. And really the new plan, the Green Deal as well, is a reply to this criticism. The focus is now clearly on waste prevention. How to actually avoid waste is the main kind of theme which is pursued also with the focus now on the product design of packaging and products. So it's not only designed for recycling, it's also going to be designed to actually maybe not need. I mean, designed, for example, products are designed to be sold without packaging, and also designed for reuse, of course. And the second focus is really trying to improve the markets of secondary raw materials, so recyclates, because this is one of the most important and best waste prevention measures that we have. And for this, what we need is also end of waste criteria, byproduct criteria, the legislation on the limiting the toxicity of chemicals in our products, and limiting and regulating the export and shipment of waste in Europe. So all this comes together basically in the circular economy action plan. In addition to horizontal actions such as the action on the global field and the monitoring and so on. Now, as regards packaging in particular, the Circular Economy Action Plan and also the Green Deal have committed to make all packaging reusable or recyclable in an economically viable manner by 2030, and also to set targets and other measures tackling over packaging and packaging waste generation, which continues to increase. So it is a kind of vision of a kind of integrated approach, which really involves all stakeholders from the value chain. And the idea is to take action upstream, downstream, to eliminate the packaging that we don't need, to innovate so that the packaging that we are still using is either reusable, recyclable, or compostable, and that the packaging that we use stays in the economy for as long as possible, that we circulate it, and that in this way we keep it out of the environment. So this means actions such as, replacing unnecessary packaging with reusable packaging solutions, or getting rid of packaging when it's not necessary, switching from single-use packaging to reuse models. Of course, also scaling waste collection, sorting, and recycling, and here the technology will be key, and also boosting the recycled content in packaging. And we are really working on all these actions, as I will also explain to you a bit in detail now. Still, if I stay for another slide on the Circular Economy Action Plan and packaging, you can see that only in the part on the key product value chain, packaging is actually mentioned in 3 sub-chapters. It has its own sub-chapter on packaging, but then it's also some very key important actions are considered or are mentioned under the sub-chapter on plastics, but also on food, water, and nutrients. Then, of course, I will mention later on that packaging is also considered, and there are action plans planned also in other chapters of the Circular Economy Action Plan. So just very quickly, in the packaging subchapter, apart from the revision of the essential requirements for packaging, we are planning also additional other measures tackling the continued growth of packaging and packaging waste generation. The Circular Economy Action Plan actually has a very ambitious wording here. It says that the Commission is going to restrict the use of some packaging materials to certain applications, and also consider reducing the complexity of some packaging materials, including the number of materials and polymers that are used in packaging. These are very ambitious measures, so we still are considering how to best do this, because with bans and regulatory measures, it might not be so easy. But maybe there are other ways to do it. And as I said, the Circular Economy Action Plan is not just about regulation, it is about also actions from the industry, the voluntary commitments, the soft measures, guidelines, and so on. So it's about achieving objectives, not necessarily, in the hard way. Then in the subchapter on plastics, the CIP envisages mandatory measures for recycled content, and also, again, the waste prevention measures for packaging. An important part, which I should also mention, is the policy framework that we are developing on the sourcing, labeling, and the use of bioplastics for biodegradable and compostable plastics as well. In this framework, we will, there will be clear, we will come up with clear criteria where the use of such plastics, also for packaging, actually makes sense from the environmental point of view. And of course, another important work that we are doing, which is also related to packaging, is the implementation of the Single-Use Plastic Directive. So that's the directive which regulates how we deal with the most littered single-use plastic items on our beaches. Actually, the implementation of this directive is still has still not started. Member states still have until next July to start to transpose the directive in their national legislation and to start implementing it. But before that, also the Commission had a lot of work still to be done. And we have been busy like hell preparing the implementation guidelines, which explaining what is single-use versus multi-use products, and what is actually plastics, what kind of plastics are considered to be plastics, and what materials are not plastics, and so on. So these guidelines are coming. We really hope that we will manage to deliver and issue them by the end of the year, as well as to implementing acts which come with it on the marking of SUP products and on separate collection targets, how member states should be accounting for the separate collection of PET bottles, which for which there is a target to separately collect them. Now, as regards packaging, of course, I mentioned already before, what is also really key are additional measures to support the recycling. We will not manage to reach our objectives with this without acting on the, in the framework of the chemical strategy and the revision of the food contact legislation, striving to make packaging as pure as possible so that we can then recycle it back into the packaging materials, the closed loop recycling, high quality recycling. We also need to limit the waste exports and to facilitate, on the other hand, the shipment of waste within the EU. This is being done under the revision of the waste shipment regulation, which the Commission will adopt. I mean, we hope to adopt the proposal for the revision of this regulation early next year. And the Basel Convention, you know, the ban to export the hazardous plastics outside Europe is coming into force by the end of the year. So all these, of course, in addition, I have forgotten to mention, we're also considering the end-of-life criteria for plastics. So all this will, of course, facilitate the viable market for secondary raw materials. Yeah, maybe I should, indeed, before I switch to the next slide, what we are also envisaging, I forgot to mention it now, is separate collection, to harmonize the separate collection systems in Europe. Now, this is quite a challenge. Until now, it was a bit of a taboo to even mention such an idea. But we have realized, because of course, member states have their own systems of separate collection, and it's under the subsidiarity principle. It's their right to have that. But since these collection systems and their differences are seen as one of the bottlenecks in the achievement of higher recycling rates and circularity, we consider that it is necessary to harmonize certain parts of these collection systems. And we will start working on this next year and hopefully present a proposal afterwards in 2-3 years in the revision of the Waste Framework Directive. And in this context, we will propose also the color coding, so the same colors of waste bins to be used all over Europe. And this will facilitate then the introduction of the right labeling on packaging, which will instruct consumers how to dispose of their waste. Because currently it seems very difficult to do that without the minimum harmonization of the separate collection systems. Now, if you allow me, I would like to say a few words about the revision of the packaging and packaging waste directive. As I said, this directive was revised as part of the waste packaging 2018, when the recycling rates and calculation rules have been changed. But at that time, we already knew that we will have to do another revision in order to reinforce the design for recycling and reuse. And for that purpose, we included a clause in 2018 in the directive itself, in Article 9, that we will revise the essential requirements for packaging. Now, what are the essential requirements? You must understand that the packaging directive is having double objective. It has the objective to protect the environment and also to ensure that there is an internal market for goods and for packaging, packed goods basically, and for packaging. So with these essential requirements, which are the basic conditions that all packaging has to meet in order to be allowed on the EU market, we kind of conciliate these two basic objectives. But for some time already, they have been seen as not sufficiently ambitious conditions to achieve the circularity of packaging. This was identified already in a study that we did in 2009, and then in 2011 there was a fitness check of the directive in 2014, and all concluded to the same. For that purpose, and also based on the call in the plastic strategy of 2018 to make all plastic packaging recyclable or reusable by 2030, we have launched in 2018 a scoping study to assess these essential requirements for packaging, to see if they are really fit for purpose or not, and how they could be improved. And this study, which was quite a long one, concluded in February 2020, sorry. Then, as I said, the Green Deal came about, and the Circular Economy Action Plan was adopted in March. So, based on all these, inputs that we have launched in March an external study that impact assessment support study. So this impact assessment support study is supporting the revision of the directive, but which goes, as I explained before, well beyond only the revision of the conditions that packaging must fulfill to be put on the market, because we are now considering also other measures supporting reuse and reducing the packaging waste generation. The impact assessment support study was launched, as I said, in March. We have received today the interim report, and the draft final report is expected in April. And our plan is to have the legislative proposal then adopted by the end of 2021. Now, the problems that we are addressing with these initiatives, as you could already deduce also from my presentation so far, are primarily the growing packaging waste, despite the trend in lightweighting, which has taken place in the last 20 years in all packaging materials and in all packaging types. Basically, there has been a switch from more heavy materials to lighter ones, in particular plastic, and inside the material groups also there has been a lightweighting trend, which is a good thing because this means waste prevention and packaging prevention, material prevention. But at the same time, this unfortunately happened at the cost of the recyclability and, of course, reusability of packaging. And so we need to address this. Here I have put on the left side some of the drivers which are driving this trend. The second one is, as I already mentioned, that this design of packaging does not always take into account the end of life of packaging, which results in of course environmental problems such as increased resource use. Instead of, we are using more and more natural resources for packaging, which is really a pity, because packaging, we don't use it for a very long time. We just throw it away immediately when we start using the product. And so we have to be much more smarter than we have been until now in the way we are dealing with our packaging. This, by the way, is related to the fact that our packaging no longer serves just the basic conditions for packaging, like 50 years ago. Nowadays, packaging is a product to some extent. It adds functions to products. And this development has to be, it's a philosophical discussion to some extent, and we should have it in the context of the revision of this directive. And then, all this has as one of the main objectives really to increase the use of secondary materials in our packaging, in particular in plastic packaging. And here we are well aware of the work, of course, that is being done by industry under the Circular Economy Action Plan, the Circular Plastic Alliance, and also other voluntary commitments, international and European. And we are going to link to that work in the way we are going to approach it in the revision of our regulations. But at the same time, we do consider that it is still necessary to regulate and to have some measures to stimulate these markets. So possible targets and other measures are not to be excluded in our proposal. Here, I would just like to say, this is the slide which lists the measures on the revision of the Packaging and Packaging Waste Directive that we are currently assessing. These are the measures that figure in our interim report. As I said, that the report that we have just received today, it's all draft measures. All this will possibly be, refined, and maybe some of them will be taken out because as a result of the impact assessment work, also political work that we are doing. So it's basically a menu from which we will be taking our measures and putting making an effort to making them, properly focused. And then to conclude, because I see that I'm a bit over time also very quickly about the product passport. As I said, it is not my initiative. It's not something that I'm working on particularly, but it is very much linked also to the revision of the packaging directive. And let me explain why. I don't know, here you see on this slide, we say that we will be, the first column, it says recyclable packaging defined by a recycling rate threshold. It's an option, okay? It's not, I'm not saying that we are going to do that. Supported by digitalization. Here we mean digitalization, technologies such as watermarking. We know that currently it's not possible to measure recycling rate and have recyclability, definition of recyclability based on recycling rate, the actual rate, how much a certain packaging type is actually being recycled all over Europe. But maybe with new technologies such as digitalization, the data will so much improve that this will become possible. And in this way, we would have certainly the best and the most accurate knowledge about what is actually being recycled and recyclable. So, but the whole idea of the product passport is being considered under the Sustainable Product Policy Initiative, which I have mentioned in the beginning, which is at the core of the Circular Economy Action Plan. And so it will give, we have already established it, by the way, in the new battery regulation, which will be adopted by the Commission in December. Already, so in this battery regulation, which will replace the current batteries directive, we envisage this battery passport, which, so by 2024, the Commission will establish the battery information database. It will consist of a public part, and then the restricted part, and a compliance part, and also an online portal giving access to all these three parts. So the product passport and the work on digitalization is mentioned both in the Circular Economy Action Plan and in the Green Deal. It's certainly something that we envisage as one of the main deliverables of the Sustainable Products Policy Initiative. So the product passport, the way we see it, will be defined, the basic principle in this directive or regulation on the SGPI, so Sustainable Product Initiative, and then the specific elements will then be put into either the implementing act or in the legislation, the sectoral legislation such as packaging. All the sectors for which the product passport will be developed have not yet been selected, but it's rather clear that packaging will be one of them. Well, here are some of the slides which I have taken from our concept paper. The work has already also started with an external consultant on this, so that we hope, I think the work is scheduled to deliver in June. It started in November, the contract, and it's delivering in June. And of course, you're all invited to participate in this process and to contact the consultants and the colleagues who are working on this. So that would be all from my side. If you have any questions, I'm also willing to answer them still for a few minutes now. I don't know how we are with the time.
Yeah, thank you, Maja. That was very inspiring. I don't think we have enough time to have any questions, because there were many questions, so maybe we can pick them up offline. But I'd like to thank you again. I know your time is limited as well, so very much thank you. But I would like to give the floor now to Francesca to set a brief framework of how this fits into the bigger picture of the European deal, and then we can go into the HolyGrail 2.0 project. Okay, thank you, Maja, very much.
Thanks a lot, Maja.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Maja. It was really very inspirational, and of course we learned a lot through what you just shared with us. I just wanted to give one brief, because Maja did a great job in explaining us also the product passport. And the product passport is a concept that has at GS1 we've been already, discussing since already few years, but we call it in another way. Our way was to call it the industrial twin, so the digital twin of the products. And basically what we see is that now there is a match with what the Commission is asking and what we've been trying to do with our members and with our standards, of course. And so please, when you see the concept of the product passport, think about the digital twin and all the efforts that GS1 is doing in order to go there. So in this way, we can match our efforts. And my second message is the fact that, as Maja said, there are a lot of initiatives. She said some of them will be legislative, and so please take this really very seriously, that some of them are also voluntary. She said that there is room still for voluntary initiatives. So this is for me a kind of a call to action to our members, for those who see sustainability as an opportunity to really go back and talk to Karen, talk to Gian, talk to the team, because our standards can be really very helpful. So with this, I hand over to you. The floor is back to you. I know you have a wonderful speaker now that will give an example. So thank you.
Thank you, Francesca. So when we go back to the HolyGrail project, so this project has been set up because they asked the question, okay, how can we make the sorting of recycling more efficient? How can we make it more intelligent? And that was why the project has been set up. We would like to give the floor to Gian the Belder, but first we would like to show a little video to introduce the project. And then the floor is all yours, Gian. So let's start with the video. Okay, Gian, go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Karen, for the very nice introduction. So let me first start with sharing my screen here, so I can start with providing the deck. So if everything works fine, you should be able to see my screen.
Yes.
Perfect. Good. So indeed, thanks for having me. I know that you, together with Wout, already gave a kind of an introduction to the GS1 community. So today, we're just gonna focus a little bit more into the details of the Digital Watermark Initiative, which is now called HolyGrail 2.0, which is all about revolutionizing sorting and recycling by means of intelligent packaging. So I think most of you know that I'm actually working at P&G. But I have some external functions, and you can see some of them over there. But I indeed have been initiating the idea of the use of digital watermarks first within the new plastics economy, and now we're moving it to a next initiative under AIM. So I'm just going to provide some more perspective on the project. Now, before doing that, let's talk a little bit about the needs for having a packaging strategy that fits into a circular economy. And these are the 5 basic pillars that you need to fulfill. So first of all, we need to make sure that our packs are designed for recycling or designed for reusability. That's another chart. But really, that's really key, right? And once you have designed it, then obviously it can re-loop into the system, and you can keep on using the materials into the circular economy. I think that's really key. The second point is then, and also Maja has been referring to that one, is access to collection. Again, in most of the member states in Europe, we do have collection schemes available, but unfortunately, they're not harmonized. And so it's great to hear from Maja that the Commission is really working on that topic as well. The third part is then all about informing our consumers and educate our consumers to really sort out the packages at the end of life into the right bins. The fourth one is then all about innovating the space of separation. That's really HolyGrail. And again, we will talk about it in a minute. And then if you have these 4 pillars up and running, we do have access to high quality, high quantities of recycled material for which we need to find end markets, right? And so if everything is in place, then obviously we can truly talk about circular economies in action. Now, again, the bottlenecks, also Maja mentioned it, collection is definitely one of them next to sorting, right? So if we crack these 2 bottlenecks, then obviously we can increase the recycling rates big time. Now, this also links, and again, I just will quickly touch base on this one. At P&G, we definitely have sustainability targets. We call it Ambition 2030. And I just have highlighted here a few of them for packaging. So we want to ensure that all of our packaging will be recyclable or reusable. We don't want to find any P&G packaging in the oceans, right? So that really comes down on having a proper collection and participation of consumers. Otherwise, it might end up in nature and eventually in the oceans. I talked about HolyGrail, and I will talk it. So it's really advancing recycling solutions. So HolyGrail is one. PureCycle is another one which we developed to, which is a process for dissolution recycling of polypropylene. And then a big one is to reduce our virgin petroleum based plastics by 50%, which is worth 300 kilotons per year of virgin prevention. So that nicely fits also into the pledge that we've done with the Commission, that we're going to use at least 25 kilotons per year of PCR by latest 2025. So we also have been signing up for the Circular Plastic Alliance. Now, again, a lot of things that needs to happen. And for this one, you really need to work it in close collaborations with associations, right? And here are just a few. Again, not going to go into detail, but I think one of the items you need to remember is that the low recycling rates currently, especially in Europe, are due to low collection and low sorting. And as mentioned, I mean, these are really the points we should be working on. So again, we have been talking HolyGrail. We have been talking digital watermarks. So Maja also was referring to it as a way actually to calculate the recycling rates, which again can be done. But what is a digital watermark, right? So let's start with that one. So what you see here on the screen is a package that we have brought into the German market a couple of months ago. And basically, a digital watermark is, if you do it in the artwork, it's a kind of an, I would call it a Photoshop manipulation. So what we're basically doing is we're using existing white inks from the area over here, and we're putting some very small dots in the blue area, and vice versa. We use the existing blue ink from this one, and we put some very small dots in the white area. By this way, we can actually create codes, and we can replicate those codes over the full package, right? So you and I won't hardly notice it. It's called it's kind of an imperceptible code, but a cheap camera, as the one on my smartphone, actually can detect it as a multitude of codes, right? So we call it imperceptible codes. That's important, and obviously these codes can carry a couple of attributes. G10 codes, manufacturing levels, SKU data, whatever, right? So there's quite a lot of things we can put in these type of codes. So again, how is it working? As I already mentioned, we are just replicating these type of codes over the full artwork. So it's a kind of a repeated tile. And the nice thing about it, because we're talking waste, so the package it's deformed, it's not controlled deformation. There will be a lot of dirt on that material as well. So the good thing is that we need to have one readable code or partial codes, right? So think about if I can read the top part here in this area and all the rest is dirty, and I have the bottom part of this one, the software will stitch the two partial codes together into one readable code, and I still can perform, for example, on a sorting operation. So this is one way to do it. I can put it easily in a code, but I also can do it directly in a mold, right? So that's really more about mold embossing. So what you see here is one of our PT bottles, an unstoppable bottle, where we have been embossing the mold. So every time I produce now the bottle, actually I can encode them. And for example, we can then say like these are bottles that historically have been used for non-food items, right? Because that's one of our product categories. So again, this is working with micro topological variations, and by doing so, it's obviously more visible than the previous case, because I always need to create a kind of a contrast. Now, this is an example of a PT bottle. We also obviously can do it easily on trays. We have been running this one with a partner called Pacor. And as you can see, I mean, you can program quite a lot in these type of codes. So on the left-hand side, you see a black tray, which again, typically would not be sorted today if you use classical carbon-based blacks. But again, the digital watermark sorting can easily detect them. And also for a consumer, if he starts to interact with that packaging system, he can have access to much more information, such as CO2 equivalents, how much recycled resin is in that pack, and all kinds of other attributes. So again, these are the two basic ways to make a package intelligent. And then I can use that intelligence, for example, for sorting, right? So what you see here on the screen is a kind of concept drawing of a sorting line. Most of the sorting lines actually are using near infrared, trying to identify what's really on a very fast conveyor belt, which is running at massive speeds of 3 meters per second. And this machine tries to identify what's on the belt based on the polymer characteristics, so a near infrared fingerprint. What we are trying to do now is to have an add-on module onto the existing sorters with cameras, high-speed cameras, and powerful LED light, and trying to identify those digital watermarks. And if I do so, I can do much more things that today are not possible. For example, making a distinction between packages that historically contain food versus non-food, as one example. I already was mentioning black packaging as another example, but also you see more and more brand owners and retailers moving much more into monomaterials. Think about pouches, tubes, and so forth. And a classical infrared detection unit cannot make the distinction between a pouch, which is made, for example, of multi-materials like PET-PE, versus one that is made out of monomaterial, for example, completely made out of polyethylene. Again, this technology allows you to do a good separation, because we're not basing ourselves purely on a near-infrared fingerprint, but we really can program it on a kind of an SKU level, right? So all of these data, and that's really where GS1 comes into play. It's all about developing a standardized database that we would share then with the waste industry. And in the future, the waste industry can then run sorting jobs based on really SKU levels, and can go much deeper into sorting whatever they want to sort out of streams, right? So eventually, it will increase the amount of packages that will get recycled, effectively being recycled, and also will improve the quality of the recycled materials. So that's where HolyGrail all got started, on the left-hand side here on recycling. But obviously, we have seen many more benefits. Important to note is that it's always one code called the digital watermark, and depending on the reading device, we get all kinds of other information, right? So for a recycler, I just explained the concept with by means of the add-on modules, but also for consumer, he now can scan his packages with his smartphones and get, for example, recycling instructions at home, right? We know that in certain countries, if you travel 10 miles, like in the UK, sometimes there are other collection rules. Well, if I would combine my signal with my geolocation, then obviously have very much tailored recycling instructions, which would also be very helpful in collecting much more empty packs to curbside collection, as an example, right? And obviously also in retail, there is quite a lot to do on the use of digital watermarks. I think most of you know that Netto is using this one. There is activity from Wegmans in the US, Walmart in the US, and many more. And one of the nice benefits is actually much faster checkout times, right? So 30% faster checkouts, because simply you don't have to look anymore for the EN codes. The whole package is basically a barcode. Also in the distribution chains, QA inspections on manufacturing lines, everything can be done. And again, very important to mention, it's just one simple and the same digital watermark. Now, again, in terms of consumer education, I think we already mentioned a couple of examples here, recycling instructions, but basically you also can make it fun by using augmented reality. And you can then also motivate and incentivize more consumers to do the right job. And let's have a very quick look to an example of the Happy Cow, which has been developed by Verstraete in Mold Labels. It's a quick movie, so I need to move my headset so you can listen together with me.
Gian, I don't think we can hear it.
Yeah, I think you indeed could not listen to it. So apologize for that one. It's basically, and I just will mention it. I mean, she just was talking about the product which is inside, and at the end she says like, I'm a fully recyclable package. Please do recycle me, right? So that's really the objective, and I've been changing a little bit my settings, so I hope for the next movie you actually can join me in listening to the movie. So again, as said, we can program quite a lot of information. This project was also featured on the BBC, which was a great one because then we can reach out to the general public. And again, people, if people want to see it, it's a 5-minute movie. You have the link on this one. Now, again, let's have a look on the close out. And before I move into the new initiative, let's have a look to the close out of the HolyGrail 1.0 on the new plastics economy, so you can see the system in operation. So again, this is a movie, so let's hope, fingers crossed, that it's that is working right now. So let's have a look to the movie. So today I'm very excited to organize a second open house here at TOMRA headquarters in Germany. We actually had 144 people subscribe for this second open day, where we have been explaining a little bit more about HolyGrail 2.0, which is our new project solely focusing on the use of digital watermarks to make packaging more intelligent and use that intelligence across the full life cycle of a package.
The event kicked off with presentations by Tom Eng, Senior Vice President and Head of TOMRA Recycling, Nico van der Wal, Product and Circularity Economy Manager of Verstraete IML, and Larry Logan, Chief Evangelist of Digimarc Corporation. There were 49 total products that were enhanced with Digimarc barcode and delivered by brands for the demonstration, including a wide variety of formats for both print and plastics packaging, as you see in the left column. The photos show a representative sampling from this list, but not all of the packages are shown here. To detect the enhanced packages, a new configuration for detection was utilized. using a newer version of Digimarc software. The cameras capture frames of the packages, which go to Digimarc detectors to analyze both printed pieces and plastic substrates. Using a database of attributes about the package, the system determines which packages to positively or negatively sort and generate data and analytics. And here we see the combined components brought together into what initially will be a bolt-on module for existing sorting equipment installations. And now let's look at the setup for the demonstration itself. The operator can choose to sort based on attributes. Here, we only see coated plastic substrates separated out on the right. Products can be detected and sorted based on any attribute, such as food versus non-food usage, recyclable versus compostable, and detect black and opaque plastics. Here is what the camera sees at 10% of normal speed. Each small dot represents a Digimarc detection point. And here is the conveyor running at 20% normal speed. Highly specular and crushed packages can still be detected, combining codes from different areas of the package. The participants were divided into two groups to allow easier access to view the various stages of the sortation process, and later adjourn for question and answer sessions.
Okay, so I'm just going to shortcut the movie over here. So that was a bit the close out of the initiative under New Plastics Economy. So what are we doing next? So that's the next 5 minutes that I will talk about this one. So because we really want to focus on this technology and bring it into the marketplace, right? So HolyGrail 2.0 is now going to be facilitated by AIM, the European Brands Association. And really, the objective of this initiative is really to prove the viability of digital watermark technologies for accurate sorting, and then also prove the business case at a larger scale. I don't have to link it anymore with the circular economy principles. I think Maja already has done a great job on this one. But obviously, we all have ambitious targets on a European level, on a global level, and also on the member states level. And obviously, if we can improve sorting, it's going to be a much easier way to get closer to these type of ambitions, right? Again, let me skip this one. I think it's important to note, and Maja already mentioned it as well. There are a couple of documents from the Commission, but also from the European Parliament, that already is referring to digital watermark technology as having a very high potential, right? So we talked a bit about the essential requirements where digital watermarking was referred to. Also in the Green Deal Action Plan, there is a reference, and also in the own initiative report from the European Parliament on the Circular Economy Action Plan. There are now some amendments that is referring to the use of digital watermarks, right? So I think, again, as said previously, if we need to think about recyclability criteria and you want to calculate effective recycling rates, then definitely this technology it could be a very interesting one. If we think about data granularity, which is, for example, linked also with eco-modulation and having access to circular data, again, this is a technology that that can provide you with much better data granularity than what we are currently having, right? So again, in terms of transparency towards consumers, packaging transparency, ingredient transparency, so those are all kinds of benefits towards consumers and towards regulators and EPR schemes in all of the different countries. So the initiative has kind of 3 pillars. We are focusing a lot on intelligent sorting, where we basically can reject items that we don't want in sorting centers, such as compostable packaging, silicone tubes, to name just 2. We can add more recycling streams. For example, in today's operation, there is quite a lot of mixed waste coming out of sorting centers. It's typically 30% of the input, which is today unfortunately sent for incineration. Now we can add streams by just making the package intelligent and allowing us, for example, to send monomaterial pouches or tubes whatsoever into the right established streams already today. Right, so that's all about adding streams, and then dividing streams is obviously food, non-food as one example. The second pillar is focusing on data mining and data management, and that's obviously where we'll get some great support from GS1. So that's really what's truly needed. GS1 is also connected with another project called R-Cycle, which is an initiative coming out of Reifenhauser, which is really looking more into the upstream data granularity, right? So if you would combine that R-Cycle with HolyGrail, then obviously you have full transparency and full data granularity on packaging and their components they're made of. The third pillar is going to be on consumer engagement. So think about, as I already mentioned, very localized instructions on how to sort effectively. Why are we recycling? So movies, incentives, rewards can be part of it, or even smart bins could be part of that pillar as well. The initiative has been launched in September, officially launched in September, and we have more than 90 plus members, right? And here you see most of the members, not all of them are on the sheet. But as you can see, it's again a very good representation of the full value chain, ranging from brand owners, retailers, packaging converters, raw material suppliers, covering basically 2 main topic streams, packaging, but also liquid carton boards are truly representative in this value chain as well. In terms of the structure under AIM, again, we have technical working groups. There is one work package specifically dedicated to data management systems, which again will be led by GS1. We have a full leadership team available as well. And then next to that one, we have the classical items. We have a secretariat. And we also have a dedicated technical project manager, which in this case is Ann Vossen, which is fully focusing on the technicalities and delivering the technicalities of this project. As we are working with a lot of competing companies inside this initiative, obviously we also do have access and are fully supported by a legal counsel. In terms of what are we going to do next, the key focus is really to get this one going. So optimizing the prototyping machine you've seen in the movie. Then we would run it into what we call a semi-industrial testing facility. So not yet a commercial one, but already at the scale of a commercial machine, and doing quite a lot of technical testing, the impact of dirt, impact of humidity, and all of these type of things, before we then would run into national test markets. And today what's on the picture is that we run this in 3 locations. It could be in a sorting center, but it also can be at the recycler. So these are all the items that we are working on. So in conclusion, again, I think this is a very nice quote. It links definitely to the circular economy, and we have the 3 ingredients here present. It's called innovation, sustainability, and digital. If people need more information, there is quite a lot on the website, which you can see here. And obviously, I'm also posting a lot on social media using the hashtag HolyGrail2. This is just the last one. We got quite some awards, as you can see on this slide. And also last week, we just received the Sustainability Initiative of the Year award from the grocery in the UK. So with that, I would like to thank you for your attention and open up the floor for questions if we still have time. So I'm just giving it back to Karen right now.
Thank you, Gian. Well, my question to you is, do you have time for questions or do you need to go?
Yeah, I probably still can stay another 10 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever is needed. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Saida, could you go ahead and ask the questions, please?
Yes. So one question that was quite popular is, will Digimark use serialized codes? From a question by Rudolf Berends.
Yes, so in the initiative, again, you have seen a reference to Digimark, but I also wanted to make clear the initiative is open to multiple digital watermark suppliers, right? So I think that's the first comment I wanted to make. There is a potential to look into serialized codes if necessary, right? I think we have to start it in an easy way, because I know that serialization makes it very complex, but I'm not excluding it for the future, right? But I think with the work we're currently doing, it's going to be without serialization at the start. And if there would be a true need, then obviously we can look into how we can serialize it as well.
Okay, thank you. And then one more question that was also quite popular from Isabel Grad. How do you see the future of plastic waste in 10 years' time?
Well, in 10 years' time, it's 2030, right? Then I would hope at least that we are achieving much higher recycling targets. And as we know, I mean, as also Maja said, 55% of plastic packaging to be effectively recycled, and effectively is a very important word on that statement, right? I mean, today targets were 22.5. We're moving to 50 by 2025 and 55 by 2030, and I hope we only can increase those targets, right? So next to recycling, obviously there has been a big focus on recycling, but as also Maja rightly said, there's also obviously a big focus on reduction, specifically on the use of virgin petroleum-based plastics, and that's where secondary markets, use of recycled resin and so forth, are very important. So reduction is important. Reuse is obviously another big important pillar where use of intelligent packaging might have a big benefit as well. So think about managing your supply chain of reuse items. Think about items that are being collected back either in the store or at your home that needs to be sanitized. So they need to be sent to a sanitization location. Later on, they have to go back to the filling plant and so forth, right? So it's all about tracking your supply chain, and again, intelligent packaging might be a very interesting one. So again, in a nutshell, by 2030, I hope at least that all of the brand owners, retailers have designed their packages so that they can be recycled, and that there is a very high number of effective recycled materials within Europe. I think that's important, that over time we reduce the amount of packages that are being sent to incineration. We are limiting our having a zero exporting goal outside of the union. Landfill brought back close to 0%, and that we keep on circulating these useful materials into the economy. I think that's going to be critical by 2030.
All right, thank you for that. We have time for one more question. This is from Sophie Magis, hope I'm saying it correctly. How do you think that the GS1 can play a role in this project?
Yeah, I think, I mean, you have obviously a track record in developing these type of standardized database systems and sharing it across multiple partners, right? So I think what's critical here is that we develop that database, and that's definitely where you can help, and then provide access to that database by the different players in waste manufacturing. Sorry, so that's basically the sorting centers, the recyclers that do need to have access on a regular basis, maybe on a daily basis, or even over a cloud system, to the latest information that has been put into the database, so that in the future they really can start sorting on an SKU level, right? So if we as a brand owner tomorrow switch to monomaterial stream that is perfect for recycling, that also then the waste manufacturers do have that information the next day, and that they can then safely send those type of items into the right established streams, right? So I think that's where you will definitely bring value with all the knowledge and your past work you've done on the classical 1D and 2D systems, and now it's just a matter of building the database and help us out in harmonizing it and making it the next standard.
Okay, perfect, Gian. Thank you very much. And I think in your last answer, you already briefly summarized what I was hoping to explain at the very end of the session, but there won't be any time. So actually, you gave the information already. So that's perfect. So I would like to go to the next guest speaker, and you have already had a sneak peek view of her earlier in this session. We have Francesca Poggiali of GS1 Global. She's Public Policy Director of Europe. We would like to hear her talk about how is GS1 involved and what can we do? How can we contribute to this project? So Francesca, the floor is all yours. You have about 10 minutes, if that's okay for you.
Great, thank you, Karen. And it has been really very excited to be listening to our wonderful speakers this morning. And so I guess, as Maja said, let's go back a little bit to the European Commission. There is a lot going on. You have seen how many actions she's been disclosing on the slides, only on packaging and packaging waste directive this morning. And so she did a great job in linking this to the product passport concept. And as I said, in the middle, I was trying to say that for us in GS1, we go back to the concept of the digital twin. So the product passport in the EU language is our digital twin. The digital twin transformation is really at the heart of what is happening, including for the HolyGrail project. It's clear that the physical products have limitations now that we need to overcome, and with the digital twin everything will be possible, including at data capture level. And so this is why GS1 in Europe decided to write a paper already a few months ago at the beginning of this discussion in order to assess one principle. For us it is a very, very important principle, which is the fact that you need circular data for the circular economy. Otherwise, we are not going to meet the scale that the European Commission is asking and that companies are already facing on the market. In order to do so, we really need to structure the data in the right way. And for us in GS1, the right way is to use open and global identifiers at first. So everything starts with the right identification at the beginning. So you have your master data right, and then you can share your data as well with limited possibilities today, in order to meet the institutions' needs, because this will be about EU companies being compliant with the new EU requirements, but also EU companies grabbing the opportunities that the circularity is offering. Because this is not just about saving the planet, which would be per se already, a wonderful goal that we all try to reach. It's all about making profit in a slightly different way, in a greener way. And so this paper is addressing this challenge, and it's available on the GS1 in Europe website. And then, we went a little bit farther, because we are now recognizing one issue in all the conversations we hear, both with companies and with authorities. There is one issue, and the issue is the fact that we need to have a common taxonomy for the green transition. Because,
Francesca, can you please put it in presenter mode, your slides?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I hope this is better. So yes, we have this idea of having the digital twin and the product passport at the center of all entities, different entities that will need to push the data and to receive the data as well. Because as the European Commission was saying, but also industries sees this on the market every day. You have new operators that are now, profiting of new opportunities. And so, for instance, if you are a recycler or if you are an operator of the waste chain, you need, of course, to access the information of the product, but you will also need to push the information for the others. And so if you have a digital twin and a digital passport that is linked to every product, you will still need a link between the digital twin and the product passport. And this link can be ensured by different carriers, by different, of course, there are different technologies offering this as well. And we in GS1, we also cover, the data capture part as well, of course. But so this is what will happen in very quickly in few years. And this is why GS1 has also decided to focus on a common data language that will enable all this. And we recognize that one of the challenges is the fact that we need a common taxonomy. So we are trying to work with W3C because it's important that we establish a collaboration also with the web data and the standards used for the web, which should be linked with the same language with the standards that are used to identify products today through the GS1 open standards. And so you are invited to access to this document, and please share your comments with us and your questions. And this is really for us the way ahead in order to meet, of course, both the industry needs and the authorities' need, because nobody can meet this challenge alone. I mean, not only one sector, one company and one authority alone could make the change that is really needed today. And so we need to stay all together. And regarding the HolyGrail project, I have one last message. Of course, we supported the initiative. GS1 in Europe is member of the AIM consortium, as Gian de Belder described it, and we are available for the data management. This is, our key expertise, of course, over the years, as Gian said. And we are there to support, of course, the use of standards, the use of open standards, as we've always been doing over the last 50 years. And so we see this project as a very successful one, as one of the projects that can, help the circularity plan to become a reality in Europe. So my last message for the audience today is the fact that product identification matters a lot, also for authorities. And you have heard it directly from the European Commission. So this is not just now a matter of one project, one area. It's really a matter of reaching the scale that the authorities clarified so well today. So Karen, thanks a lot. With this, I hand over it to you. And I remain available for questions.
We have one question coming in. Saida, could you please ask them? Saida still there?
Excuse me, I was still muted. We have a question indeed from Rudolf Behrens. Will there be an ISO standard for Digimark?
Francesca, did you hear the question?
If ISO will work on Digimark, I don't know. What we know is that Digimark is one of the technologies that today is used. Of course, it's a proprietary code. In some cases, they embed the GTIN, so our open and global standard for product identification. And so we defer to them. We know Digimark is very, very active. And of course, there is now this huge consortium that you have seen. So the question is to be asked more and more to them. I really cannot answer for ISO.
All right, thank you. Do we have time for one more question?
If it's a short one.
Let's try to keep it short. How can other GS1 member organizations contribute to this project?
It's a European project under AIM. So AIM is the European Brands Association, and the consortium is open for all to join. GS1 in Europe has decided to join jointly, let's say, as GS1 in Europe, representing 49 MOs. But of course, you know, the consortium is open. It depends on how much the industry based in your country is willing to participate to the HolyGrail process, of course. And Gian de Belder is giving all the information. He showed the website, and I'm sure after the forum you will make this information available as well, Karen and Jan.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Okay,
Perfect. Thank you.
Let's have our CEO finish off. He will do the slot, and then Jan, I think you will also ask. I'll have Saida ask some poll questions as well. So go ahead.
Thank you, Karen. Very interesting innovation cafe. If I may summarize and have some wrap-ups, I think when you look at the presentations, it's crystal clear that circular economy will not be possible without sharing data, will not be possible without any aligned identification keys, will not be possible without a good digital twin, and will not be possible if we do not cooperate all together to make this happen, because this is just the start of a very interesting project. And this is why Francesca clearly said, and also the others, that there is a huge role for GS1 to contribute. We are not leading, to contribute on this and to make sure that we have open standards and open guidelines so that everyone in the industry can easily implement what will be there for the future. So with this, I think, very simple summary, think about it. Circular economy without sharing data will not be possible. And that's the main task that we need to do the coming years for everyone. So thank you for attending. Thank you also for the excellent guest speakers. It was a really inspiring session, and I have learned a lot. So I think, Saida, we are almost at the end for some 2 poll questions, or am I wrong?
You are right. Let's go to the next poll question. Do you think that sustainability will become a higher priority within your company over the next 5 years? So let us know what you think, everyone. And then we'll talk again in 5 years, I guess. I don't know if everybody has voted. 3, 2, 1. Most people are saying yes, so that's a very good sign. Happy to see that. And then let's go to the next poll question. How do you think that GS1 should play a role in this topic? Do you think that GS1 should not play a role and focus on other projects like blockchain and artificial intelligence? A passive role maybe by informing our members, an active role by actively participating in these kinds of projects, or an even more active role by also focusing on the technical implementation of the solution and public policy engagement? Votes are coming in. Let's give it 3 more seconds. Tell us what you think. All right. So most people, 60% of people are saying that GS1 should play an active role by focusing on both the technical implementations and the public policy engagement. So that's good to know for us.
Okay, great.
Thank you,
That's
everyone.
also good news for Francesca. Anyway, I think we've come to the end of the Innovation Cafe. If you still have any questions or remarks, please don't hesitate to contact me or anyone else at GS1. We are very happy to help. You will receive this recording by email. And yeah, in the meantime, be green, be safe, and yes, don't hesitate to contact us. And if you want to leave this event, you can just you can close your browser and then you can go have lunch. Thank you very much for attending, and thank you to the guest speakers for giving these great presentations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.